Okay, so this is the quick video for it's somewhere around the 746th attempt out of 747 that we have to make. It might be the 747th. It depends whether we count the volcanic predictions we've made 5 of them, 6 actually, or not. But it's somewhere around the 747 mark, which is the total number of predictions we're supposed to make according to 1 Kings 18. The difference between the number of false prophets and true prophets in the account. So therefore, standing representatively, symbolically, for the number of false predictions that Elijah makes before he finally gets it right. And so here is our 746 or thereabouts attempt to get it right. So the second fire sign, it's all about the Lord's Witness Alienation Times, which is a 7 times malediction during which we cannot be sealed into a salvation covenant and we can't get the gifts of the Spirit. And which is what's happened to the whole of mankind for 7 years of years, 7 prophetic times, 7 times 360 years, 20 years from when God said to Noah, my spirit shall not continue indefinitely with man, because towards man, acting towards him, because either he's sinned or he's flesh, depending on the Hebrew translation you want to choose. Therefore, his days shall amount to 120 years, which was a typically ambiguous statement from God. It had several meanings. One was neither of them, none of the meanings were that the flood was in 120 years' time. The flood was in 118 years' time after that statement. But the 960-year lifespan of humans became 480-year lifespan 120 years after that statement. And the eventual lifespan of human that we now, that Adamic man and Canaanian man now has, is 120 years, which was the precise length of time of Moses' life before he died. And since Moses, no one has lived more than 120 years who is Adamic or Canaanian. Non-Adamic people have lived longer than that and can today, non-Adamics. So, and we're that near the kingdom that there are non-Adamics about. The whole of this church is non-Adamic, and the whole of, in fact, every true church, and there's only one of them. It's like Brian Clough said, I don't think I'm the best manager in the Football League, but I do think I'm in the top 1. And there was a time when there were 2 true churches. Now there's only 1. And of course, we believe it's the Lord's Witnesses. And any true church, after 6,000 years after Adam first became a priest, 50 months after he sinned on 3989 Sivan 6, the Pentecost. He sinned on 3993 Nisan 14, but he was appointed as a priest at the Jubilee, the 50th month after that sin, and being the patriarchal head of mankind. And he can only work for God for 6,000 years, and that ended on 2012 Sivan 14. And from then on, if you want to be in a true church, you had to be non-Adamic, because Adam couldn't work for God. Yeah, so this Alienation Times ended Sivan 21. So 2023, whereas the original Alienation Times ended 33 Sivan 5, the Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit was poured out and the apostles were sealed into the angelic ransom covenant and got everlasting angelic life. So, which was a wedding gift to Jesus, actually, who was the head of the second wife of Jehovah, the second Holy Spirit. And he got married to Jehovah on Nisan 16, 33. I think, first fruits. And after he'd given his angel as a ransom for Adam. I may have that wrong. Difficult to see how he got married without an angel. Sorry, he did have an angel because he offered the angel. He released the angel to Jehovah on Nisan 16. And Jehovah took it at the Pentecost. First fruits is when he released it. He took it Sivan 5 at the Pentecost. And at that point, Jesus actually became a god. There's 50 steps up the ladder to divinity, 50 days at Pentecost, and there's 30 up the ladder from human to angelic. So it's an extra 20 from angelic to divine. And in our understanding, certainly in the 30 steps from human to angelic, each step is a doubling of the clock speed of your brain, which means that an angel is 2 to the 30 times more intelligent than not more intelligent, quicker thinking than a human in an angelic body, which is 1 billion times faster their brains go. That doesn't mean they make better decisions. It means they make faster decisions. But I don't know how that works going from an angel to a god. That may not be the same metric. It may not just be a doubling, goodness knows what it would be. So, but I'm sure it's in the Bible somewhere. So anyway, the problem was that we didn't have a prediction for 2016, Sivan 21, at the beginning of the Alienation Times, when Elijah went up the mountain of Isaiah Zoa to be appointed over the 2 NCs. But we did have one for Sivan 27 to 28 and Tammuz 6 to 11. So it failed on Tammuz 12. And the attendant, of course, is asked to go up and have a look for a mushroom cloud. And he says there's nothing at all, meaning your entire prediction failed, and that he wouldn't know until Tammuz 12. So then we go back 7 times from either the end of the prediction on Tammuz 11 or from the no-show declaration on Tammuz 12. And we get to 2023 Tammuz 11, 12, which is a parallel 7 times to the Alienation Times, but delayed, 21 days or 20 days. And then we add the 21 times sentence count of first part of verse 44, and it occurred at the 7th, in the 7th, and he said, look, small cloud, like a man's palm ascending from the sea. So a cloud is compared with a man's palm, and they're ascending from the sea. So there's 3 things, and it counts as 3 times. But then it occurred in the 7th, so it's times 7, because the 3 things in the 7th. So it's 21 times. So you add that to the Tammuz 21. Sorry, you add that to Tammuz 12, 2023, or Tammuz 11, and you end up on 2023 Ab 2, Ab 3. And Ab 2 is third 2 NC first fruits of the Sivan 1 secular year, and it's possibly also second late 2 NC first fruits of the Tebeth 1 sacred year, if you take according to the definition of booths in Leviticus 18 it is, but I'm not convinced you can apply it to a Tebeth 1 year. I think you should use it depends whether you take 2 NC first fruits as being the second day or the first day after the new secular year, or whether you take it to be the first day after the 7th month of the new sacred year. And maybe it can be either, probably can. Or you, and also the advantage of 2023 Ab 2 is it's a weekly Sabbath, so it's the 7th, whereas 2023 Ab 3 is not a festival, it's not a first fruits, and it's not a weekly Sabbath. So we went with Ab 2. So but we extended the second fire sign prediction now to run from AB1 to AB5, which is from the 20th of July at sunset to the 25th at sunset. So it's from Thursday, the 20th of July to Tuesday, the 25th of July. That's when we believe the second fire sign will occur. We went for not just for AB2, but for AB1 to AB5 to cover all eventualities we can presently see. And then the third fire sign, well, for this one, we go to our last fail prediction, and that was for a fire sign on Tammuz 20 to 23. So it failed entirely on Tammuz 23, and it was seen to have failed on Tammuz 24. So if we go back 7 times from the end of the fail prediction, or from the no-show declaration when it seemed to have failed, we get to Tammuz 30 AB1. Then we go to the next 7th after that, which is the instructions that Elijah gave to his attendant. And that takes you again to AB2, which is a weekly Sabbath. It also could take you to AB4, which is the 7th Sabbath of Zoar weeks, or AB6, which is the 5th Sabbath of late 2NC weeks, and the 3rd Sabbath of late Zoar weeks. So but you'd go either to the first weekly Sabbath or the first Sabbath of weeks. So it's going to either be AB2 or AB4, really, when he should see a fire sign. So again, therefore, we've gone from AB1 to AB5 to cover the whole thing. So that's basically it. The second fire sign is going back 7 times from our prediction failure immediately pursuant to the beginning of the Lord's Witness Alienation Times. And then you go back 7 times from that to get to 2023 Tammuz 11, and then you count the 21 sentence count to take you to AB2. And today, as I record this, we're just finishing Tammuz 30. Well, it's 5 o'clock, 5:30, Tammuz 30, which is the Thursday, July the 20th. And the third fire sign is you go to our last mistake, and you then go back 7 times, which is just 7 days, and then you go to the 7th after that, which is a weekly Sabbath or the Sabbath of weeks, the Festival of Weeks. So that's AB2 or AB4. So in all cases, we are now predicting a fire sign to occur between today and Tuesday, the 25th of July. And then what happens is these 2 fire signs mislead mankind into World War III. Let me explain what's going on here. The demons are not permitted to directly cause World War III, I don't think, and they're certainly not permitted to start a nuclear war. However, it's what they wish to do is to prove to God that we humans are crap, and we're the sort of, we can't be trusted, we're insecure, and we're a risk to all of creation. And the way they want to do that is they want to deceive us into having a war, World War III, and eventually into going nuclear in that war, in order that they can say to God, see, these humans you've designed are not as good as us angels. And what they do is they cannot be trusted not to kill themselves, let alone everybody else. And so you've got to forget about them. Sorry, you made a mistake making these humans, and you've got to return all power and authority and glory and everything to us lot because we're brilliant. And I don't know how they think they're going to fool God by that ridiculous concept, but I can tell you it certainly fools mankind, and we will fall for it, and we will go into World War III because that is the second horseman of the apocalypse and war, and it will go nuclear after all the faithful have been saved, but not before all the loving have been saved. And then we get to this fascinating registration, because there's another reason for this war, which is to do with control, of course. I mean, what else are wars for other than control? And the mark of the beast and the registration. In Jesus's day, Caesar Augustus did a registration. Here we are in July. The next month is August. And we now have the World War III starting on Ab 15. But we had to push it back 10 days because the rapture of the Lord's Witness Church is pushed back 10 days, and it occurs. The war begins 13 days after of Revelation 6:4, actually, of the ride of the second horseman of the apocalypse, after the rapture of the Lord's witnesses, who go up as a block because we're all joined together by baptism. So, and Ab 4:15 is August the 3rd, 4th. So World War III begins in our latest understanding on August 3rd, the 4th, 3rd or 4th, which is, as I say, Ab 15. And it's that's the beginning of the enforcement of Mark of the Beast registration. It's the greater registration, you see. There's a registration in Jesus' day by Caesar Augustus. And what that says is there will be a greater registration at the end of Christianity, just as there was at the beginning. And it will occur in August, because the boat wasn't called Caesar Septemberus or Caesar Januarius or Caesar Februarius. He was Caesar Augustus. Sorry about my terrible Latin. So it's a clue of when the greater Mark registration will be. It will be in August. And we actually have had a guy, one of the apostles in this church, Mike, he had a dream in August that of a calendar going through the months of August, flicking through the pages, and of a war breaking out, basically, and him seeing that. So, all the fire signs that precipitate it. So that's what's going to happen. We may have the chronology wrong, but we don't have the series of events wrong. There are two fire signs which deceive, which are terrorist attacks, on, as I've been saying, producing mushroom clouds above a river in Manhattan above the Hudson, and in around Dartford east of London above the Thames. And these will scare mankind and be used to force us into World War III, the purpose of which is to enable this registration. It's a power grab, of course, a war, but this is worse. They want, the demons, they want to register us all as slaves, as their slaves. And just as, because when you register people, you own them, right? They should not register us, they don't own us. We're actually owned by God, and Satan has no authority anymore. Jesus, in our understanding, is presently Caesar, which is why this demonic plan will fail. If he wasn't, we'd be in real trouble. And their idea is to say, yes, well, it's a war. You need a ration book. Obviously, that's what happens in wars, isn't it? I mean, what can we do? It's a war. You need a ration book. And ration book, you've got to register for that, of course, or you can't get your rations. And everybody has to register. And there you go. We've all got the mark of the beast. And perfectly normal thing to do in a war. In the World War II, you had a ration book. Now, of course, we're slightly more technologically advanced. So what we're going to have is a chip or a QR code, and eventually we'll have CBDCs. And we'll, if you're a good boy, maybe you can, have a cheeseburger. If you're not, you get excluded. And this is the registration. The mark of the beast registration, where you cannot buy or sell without this mark. And the living mark, the mark that there's an image of the beast that's living and speaks and causes to be killed those who won't worship the beast or its image. And the image is a currency, it's the CBDCs, and it speaks by saying, computer said no, social credit score not high enough. You eat back. No hamburger for you. So that's what that's what this that's where we've arrived, I think, in the stream of biblical chronological prophetic time. But it's August when the registration should occur. As I say, we have that from a dream of one of the people in the church, and we have it from was it Luke, where the registration took place in the 15th year, I think, of Caesar Augustus. So the advice from the scriptures is, do not take this mark. It's a deception. Everything is a deception in the world these days. It won't help you. It won't make you more secure. You will believe, and that's the deception, that the only way you can be secure is to have the mark. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you want to be secure, you've got to get into the ark, not have the mark. And to get into the ark, you mustn't take the mark. So that's that's the cute thing. I mean, I've been wondering why Mike's dream says August and why Caesar Augustus. And I was trying to get it to August, but I couldn't. But now we've got no choice. We're at August, and everything fits for that. So, and I think it's this August because, well, we've got the various proofs that it must happen this year, or if not, we're out by 35 years from the we got that from the Great Sabbath proof, which is in Understanding 271-11, which is needs updating. I'm trying to automate the website so that I can update it. It's every time I come up with a new prediction, it takes me to fully update the site about a month, and I haven't got a month, so I've got to automate the process somehow. So I've been working with PHP to do that. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I hope this information is correct and I don't have to do too many more updatings. I don't really hope that there'll be World War III. I hope there won't be a World War III. And I wish it would be much nicer if Jesus just came down and said, right, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. But that we wouldn't learn anything about ourselves if he did that. He already knows what we're like. We don't. We need to learn for ourselves what sort of people we are. That's what this is all about. It's a love test. It's a humanity test. It's, do you have a heart test? And I suppose that there's, to me, as an English, as a British person, I've always been and still remain very, very proud of our educational system as it was in my day. I mean, I'm 65, and I got the benefit of a very good education. and our professions, doctors, lawyers, accountants, police, army, insurance, banking, all these professions, or architects, that they used to be, when I was a young man, full of integrity and professional integrity, and it was all about how good you were as an architect, how good you were as a doctor, how good you were as an academic, all these things. And regrettably, I've seen them, and it's a tragedy. I've seen them be corrupted to the point where a doctor is no longer really that interested in health of the patients. They're just somebody who doesn't want to earn 120,000, but wants to earn 150,000 in circumstances where the ambulance service doesn't work, in circumstances where the health service is seen to be falling apart because it's been following a political agenda rather than a healthcare agenda, which is the inevitable consequence of it being run by a government that sells itself to the highest bidder, and the highest bidders are drugs companies. So you end up with hospitals being sales, as we know, sales departments for big pharmaceutical companies. But it isn't just doctors. It's the whole of academia has gone down this road. I think the only professional group, I mean, probably architects and lawyers, for all the insults they get, you can still get some type of a proper service from them. But it's getting, all the professions have been corrupted in the most horrible way. And what's corrupted is the desire for status, the desire for financial status and social acceptance, and satanic status is what it's all, everybody wants. And what's going to happen, and that is the demons are going to bribe us with satanic status to wipe ourselves out with World War III and various other means. And we will gladly go along with this scheme, because it means that when we die with high social status and lots of financial status and lots of likes on Facebook, and we are considered by a large number of people to be a good guy because we have all this status. When we destroy humanity out of total heartlessness and a total failure to think clearly and follow objective truth, and that's the plan. It's a very simple plan: bribe us with our own money or deny us access to it, unless if we follow species preserving morality, we will be excluded financially. If we are prepared to follow species annihilating morality, which will be called social credit score, and all our actions make mankind's chances of survival considerably less, then we will be given access to our money. So we will be bribed with satanic status to destroy ourselves, which is exactly what happened to Eve and to Adam. Satan said to Eve, you can have the status of a god. You can be like a god, deciding good and bad for yourself. If you eat this fruit, that's what he's keeping from you. You can have the status of a god. You can be worshipped. All you've got to do is eat this fruit, and you can have all this status. Now, what he was actually doing is selling her death by saying you'll have a load of status. And he's doing exactly the same thing today. You have a choice between status and sustainable species preserving morality. And recognize, don't be deceived, all right? If you want to be, if you really think that money is and status amongst men and women is more important than the survival of the species, fine, but don't be deceived. Understand what you're doing. The survival of the species is at stake. We have the technology now, several forms of it, to wipe ourselves out. And that's why I would also say that be very careful. Anybody who's developing any form of technology, think really carefully what you're doing. Does mankind have the morality to handle that technology. I'm talking about AI, I'm talking about weapons, I'm talking about biological weapons, I'm talking about nuclear weapons, I'm talking about financial weapons, I'm talking about any form of technology that gives mankind more power, which does not give mankind better morality, is a mistake. And you end up in this ridiculous situation. It reminds me of the Formula One situation, where if you give any Formula One driver the chance of, you tell him, you've got two cars you can choose. One is very, very safe. And the other one has a 50% chance of killing you, but goes 5 seconds a lap faster. Which car will you take? They all will take the one that goes 5 seconds a lap faster, because the reason they're in Formula One is to win. They don't want to go in a car that loses. That's completely pointless. And okay, they might die, but they discount that because they just want to win. Well, you cannot have that attitude. Don't take that attitude with humanity. They're not yours to kill. I mean, a Formula One driver can take that risk. It's his risk, although, of course, there's the family to consider, and there'll be fantastic advances made so that they don't have to face that problem anymore. I'm talking historically of what they would have done. Or they might still do that today, I don't know. But because they recognize that and they faced up to that problem, we get a situation where Max Verstappen drives over Lewis Hamilton's head, and Lewis is still alive and driving a car, which is a fantastic testament to the correct morality being applied to that sport in that regard. And it's really brilliant. But don't make that mistake with all of mankind and with your life and your family and your country. Don't do it. So I'm saying to everybody who's designing advanced technology, think, is this going to make the world a better place or a worse place? And if it's going to make it a worse place, stop designing it, because there's no point in having a fantastically secure future in a great company with it because you're so good at technology that lasts about a year and then we wipe ourselves out, which is where we're getting to. I don't think that this is a problem that's just going to, mankind has always been on the brink of self-annihilation. No, we're getting closer and closer to it. We weren't able to do it when we had in the Stone Age. We weren't really able to do it before the nuclear bomb. We now are able to do it. And biblically, we all but do it. And it's only that God steps in when we've screwed up that we learn that, we better readjust our thinking. But make the readjustment now. Don't contribute, I would say, to the destruction of mankind. I mean, I love technology, like many people, but I made a decision to try and go after the morality, because I saw, it's quite obvious that giving your car a bigger and bigger engine and a smaller and smaller steering wheel, you're going to end up having a crash. What we need to do is concentrate on a better steering wheel. It's bigger, and we don't want to make the engine any bigger. We want to make it smaller, actually. So so that's the exciting, the exciting. I mean, there's going to be the other thing I must say. It sounds all horrific and apocalyptic, and it is. But God protects all his people, and he never lets anybody be tested more than they can bear. And people with faith have the shield of Abraham around them. And if you're being tested because you have love or you have faith, God will not allow that test to be screwed up by some pathological, genocidal, homicidal demon. So this is all going to occur, the great apocalypse, and all the pain that goes with it, and incidentally, this pain is just the amount of pain needed to wake people up. If you'd all wake up now, if the whole world listened to this video or several other people's videos and woke up and realized what was going on, there wouldn't need to be any pain at all, and we could all be in the kingdom of God tomorrow. But unfortunately, people won't wake up because they're in fear, and they mistakenly believe that the only security in this world lies in money and status, and it doesn't. Every breath you take has nothing to do with the amount of money in your bank account or the amount of followers you've got on Instagram. What it has to do with is the brilliant design of your body by one Jehovah God and his angels, his wife, his Holy Spirit. That is why you breathe, and the next breath you take is thanks to him, and the breath you take after that is thanks to him. It is not due to money. It is not due to status. And if you have the choice between breath and money and status, I don't think it's a difficult choice to make, but that is a choice we're all going to have to make. And not just for us, but for other people too, isn't it? All right, well, I seem to have been going on a rant. Thanks very much for listening anyway.